I had always heard rumors about that old McDonald's building before it became a fast food restaurant. The place used to be something else. People whispered that it was cursed. They said some people had died there under mysterious circumstances, and their spirits never left. But I didn't believe in any of that. It was 2024, and I worked at the McDonald's kitchen, not in a ghost story. That night was a Tuesday, cold and quiet as usual. My boyfriend Leo did odd jobs to get by, and when I worked late shifts, I often invited him over. Sometimes we had a little dinner together before closing, but that evening, Leo was late. I was behind the counter scrolling on my phone when I noticed a shadow approaching the entrance. I thought it was him. I decided to play a prank. I hid behind the counter, ready to jump out and scare him. The door opened and the bell rang above it. I held my breath. But there were no footsteps, no sounds, just silence. I waited a moment. Nothing, Leo. I whispered. No answer. The door closed, but no one came in. A shiver ran down my spine. I slowly stood up and looked around. Maybe he was the one trying to scare me. I checked the tables, the corners, even the restroom. Leo, this isn't funny, I said aloud. No response, only the hum of the lights and machines. Then, suddenly, a loud bang outside. My heart jumped. I ran out to see. The parking lot was empty, but near the dumpster, saw the metal lid was crushed, like something heavy had slammed into it. I froze. No cars, no wind, no footsteps. As I turned to go back, I heard my name. Irene. I spun around. Leo was running toward me, pale and out of breath. What happened? Someone jumped from the roof. He pointed shakily to the top of the McDonald's building. I looked. Nothing. There's no one there. I swear I saw it. They landed right here. I looked back at the crushed dumpster. The timing, the noise, it made sense, but I didn't want to believe it. Come inside, I said, walking toward the door. Just then, I caught a movement in the corner of my eye. A figure reflected in the glass. Someone behind us. We turned quickly. The parking lot was empty inside. I locked the door and tried to calm down. Then Leo looked toward the kitchen. Is someone still back there? Simone? Left hours ago. Then who just walked in? I turned fast. The kitchen door was gently swinging. My stomach twisted. I stepped inside. The air was thick and heavy. The smell of oil and something sour. No one there. Leo followed me, looking around nervously. Suddenly, the fryer turned on by itself. Oil bubbled violently. I stepped back, heart pounding. Then pots and utensils began crashing down one by one. Irene, we have to get out, Leo shouted, backing away. I tried to turn off the fryer, but the buttons didn't respond. The lights flickered in the flashing light. Saw it, a tall black figure standing in the kitchen doorway, skin like soot, eyes glowing. White dot. Then the light steadied, and it vanished. Run, Leo yelled, grabbing my arm. We ran. My hand shook so badly, I dropped the keys twice. We got in the car and sped away. Only after we were far did I dare glance in the rearview mirror. There it was, a dark figure with glowing eyes, standing at the McDonald's window, watching us leave. When my husband lost his job in February, everything became tougher. The bills kept piling up. His part-time work at the warehouse barely covered groceries, so I started taking every late-night shift I could at the McDonald's downtown. Since we couldn't afford a babysitter, I had no choice but to bring my 7-year-old daughter Zoe along. Zoe never complained. She actually enjoyed coming with me, especially when Oscar was working. Oscar was the guy who wore the mascot costume. Big blue bear with a painted smile stretched across his belly. Every time she saw him walk in with that silly costume, her eyes lit up. He'd play with the kids, hand out stickers, sometimes even gave away leftover toys from kids' meals. But there was something about Oscar that made me uneasy. It wasn't just a costume. It was him. His pale gray eyes always seemed tired. His voice was soft, almost too polite. Every time he smiled at me, it sent chills down my spine. It was the kind of smile that never reached his eyes. I told Zoe more than once to keep her distance, but she never listened. That evening was hectic. The dinner rush had turned the McDonald's into a whirlwind. Families shouting, fries flying, sodas spilling everywhere. Zoe was, as usual, near the play place with the other kids. Oscar was entertaining them, telling some goofy story. I turned for just a second to set down a tray at a table. When I looked back, Zoe was gone, and Oscar, too. My heart sank. I ran through the restaurant, checking every corner. No sign of her. Behind the counter, empty. One of my coworkers noticed me panicking and said, "I think she went out back." Saw her heading that way. I didn't hesitate. I bolted for the back door and flung it open. The alley was cold, silent, empty. "Zoe," I called out. No answer then. Soft crying, and a voice, low, calm, almost a whisper. "It's okay, sweetie. Mommy doesn't need to know. She'd only worry." Oscar. My blood ran cold. I raced toward the sound behind the dumpsters. There they were. Zoe sat on Oscar's lap. His costume was half unzipped. His hands were covered in something dark. Deep red stains spread across Zoe's pants. She was sobbing. "But my shirt is all red," she cried. "Mommy's going to be so mad." I snapped. I grabbed a rock from the ground and threw it at him with all my strength. "You sick freak," I yelled. "Get away from her." Oscar lifted his head. The rock hit his forehead, dead center, but he didn't flinch. His wide gray eyes stared at me, shocked but calm. "Michelle, wait," he said softly. "Zoe, come here." I pulled Zoe close. She was trembling. "What did you do to her? What were you doing?" Then the truth hit me, the shame, the silence. Something moved near the corner, a small, bloody lump. An animal. A badger. Oscar stood slowly and pointed at it. It attacked her. I pulled it off. Zoe nodded through tears. "He saved me, Mommy." Time seemed to stop. I'd dropped the rock. I'd been wrong about him. I judged him because of his tired eyes, his weird smile. I saw a monster, but he was the one protecting my daughter when I wasn't looking. "I'm sorry," I whispered. Oscar gave that same strange smile, but now it looked different, kind, human. "It's okay," he said softly. "If it were my daughter, I'd do the same." Holding Zoe close, I realized something I'd never wanted to admit. Sometimes, the people who look like monsters are the ones saving us from the real ones. There was something strangely quiet about the night. Shifts at the McDonald's on the edge of a small town that seemed forgotten by time. After midnight, hardly any customers came through, just the occasional car passing through the drive-thru, and in the distance, the steady hum of the highway. The restaurant was surrounded by dense woods. Trees began just beyond the parking lot, always seeming too close, like they were trying to creep in and swallow the place whole. Nobody ever came around there unless they absolutely had to. That night, I was working with Morrow. I was assigned to clean the dining area, and he handled the kitchen. To break the boredom, I put on my headphones and blasted some music while mopping between the tables. But after a while, something started to bother me. At first, it was just a feeling, a sense of unease. Then, a noise. Strange. A faint scratching, like something was scraping lightly against one of the windows. I pulled off my headphones. Nothing. I looked toward the big window facing the woods. The reflection from the neon lights made it hard to see outside clearly, but everything looked calm. The dining area was empty. No movement. Curious, I stepped outside through the back door for a look. The air was freezing. A Thin fog lay over the pavement. In front of me, only dark trees. Still, not a leaf stirred. And then, I saw it, suspended on one of the highest branches, about 30 feet off the ground, was something. A figure. Dark, motionless. It looked human, but distorted, stretched out, and it was staring right at me. Panic rose in my throat. I took a step back, then another dot. At that moment, the branch beneath it bent sharply, as if something incredibly heavy was jumping down. I ran inside, slammed the door behind me. Moreau shouted, "Come quick, there's something out there." Was still scrubbing the fryer, barely turning around, annoyed. "What are you talking about?" "I swear I saw it, up in a tree. It was huge, weird." He sighed, but followed me to the window. I pointed to the tree where I'd seen it, but of course, nothing was there. Just fog and branches. "You're losing it. Probably a raccoon." It wasn't an animal. It wasn't Morrow. He shrugged and went back to the kitchen. I stayed there, staring into the darkness. From then on, every noise made me jump. Every creak, every imagined step, every flicker of the neon lights. But I told myself it was just stress. At the end of the shift, we walked out together to the car. Morrow led. I followed nervously, glancing toward the woods. I was fumbling for my keys when Morrow stopped. "Hey, do you see that?" I looked up, across the parking lot. Right at the edge of the trees stood someone, still, silent, watching us. "Who's that?" I whispered. "I don't know." I stared. Then it waved its arms, like it was saying hello. But the arms were too long. We turned to get in the car. Just as Morrow opened the door, something slammed down hard on the roof. The metal dented inward. "Moreau!" I yelled. "It's on the car. It's on the car." I scrambled inside, started the engine. Its tire screeched as we sped off. We didn't speak the entire way. The next day, we went back to check the security footage. We wanted proof, anything, but there was nothing. No shape, no movement, just the empty restaurant. Then, back at the car, I saw it, the dent on the roof, and the deep, long scratches like claws trying to rip the car open from above. And, on the windshield, a note, handwritten, "We're watching you." I had been working at McDonald's for almost 8 months, mostly on weekend shifts. Saturday afternoons were the worst. Total chaos. Kids screaming in the playground, distracted parents, the smell of ketchup everywhere. But there was one thing that made everyone happy. Lenny the clown. Lenny was the official mascot of our restaurant. He wasn't one of those colorful, ridiculous clowns. His costume was a bit more subdued. A yellow jumpsuit, messy red wig, and a latex mask covering half his face with a smile painted on that seemed carved in time. He never spoke. He smiled, did some lame magic tricks, handed out balloons, then disappeared to the back. Everyone said he was just a strange guy, but harmless. They said, that Sunday, there was a new little girl in the playground. Her name was Nina. She was about 6 or 7, blonde hair tied into 2 pigtails, wearing a Paw Patrol t-shirt. Nina was playing alone on the playground, while her mother was scrolling through her phone at a nearby table. Lenny came in around 4 o'clock, without saying a word. He approached the playground and stood still, watching. I was behind the counter, watching him. Nothing openly strange, but something about the way he stared at her made my blood run cold. Nina noticed him and, like all kids, got curious and went closer. "Do you want a balloon?" Lenny said in a faint voice, not loud, not cheerful, just calm. To calm down, Nina nodded. Lenny took a red balloon from his pocket and held it out, but he kept it high enough to make her approach. Then he turned and slowly started walking toward the back, turning occasionally to make sure she was following. I was watching him. Something wasn't right. "Nina, come back now," I called, pretending to joke. She stopped, seemed unsure. Lenny froze and stared at her. Then he made a gesture with his hand, silent. A sort of invitation. Nina took a step, then another. "Mom," I shouted at her mother. "She's leaving with him." The woman suddenly looked up, confused. She jumped up, but Nina had already disappeared down the back hallway, where there's just the storage room and the service door. I ran after her. The hallway was silent, long, windowless. "Lenny," I yelled. "Nina, where are you?" No answer. Then a noise, the creak of plastic, the sound of a door closing. I got closer. One of the storage doors was slightly open. I pushed it. "Dark. Nina," I whispered. Then a voice, slow, distorted, coming from inside. I didn't want to, just to play. It was Lenny. I turned on my phone's flashlight. The storage room was empty. Its boxes, supplies, a broken mirror, and something strange. The costume, hanging on a hook. The jumpsuit, the mask, everything. But Lenny wasn't there. Neither was Nina. I left the storage room with my heart pounding. Then, from the women's bathroom, I heard crying, faint. I opened the door. Nina was there, curled up in a corner, shivering. "Are you hurt?" I asked. She shook her head, but didn't speak. Just stared at the ceiling, lips moving silently. I took her back to her mother. She was crying too. I held her. Nobody could explain anything. Nina only spoke 2 days later at home. She said one thing. "He said he's not a man. Said he lives in the costume." We called the police. They checked the security cameras, but there was no footage of the hallway. The server had crashed. Only one frame a few minutes before. The empty playground. And, in the middle, Lenny. But his mask seemed to be staring at the camera, and there was no one inside.